Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I wish all my listeners a happy and prosperous new year. It is good to start anew in a new year. And therefore, we have the directive of God that our discussions on marriage should start from its origin. And we are doing this because of our children, our brothers and sisters who might want to get married but are not fully equipped with what marriage entails. Some go to marriage because their friends are married. They don't know exactly what God's opinion is, and they start beating about the bush. This accounts for the large percentage of divorce that is recorded in marriage. So today, we are going to start with the divine institution of marriage. When we talk of marriage, it is a divine institution. Now let us look at it and see how it is a divine institution. Marriage is sacred and was ordained of God during the creation of the world. Let's go into our Bible. You can see this in Genesis chapter 2, verses 8, 21, and 24. Jesus Christ himself affirmed the divine origins of marriage when he said, "Have ye not read that he which made them at the beginning made them male and female, and said, For this cause shall a man leave father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they shall be one flesh." Genesis, the book of Moses called Genesis chapter 2, verse 24. So, you can see how marriage is sacred because it originated from God. Another point to note is that from the beginning, the sacred nature of marriage was closely linked to the power of procreation. After creating Adam and Eve, God commanded them to be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. You can get this in Genesis chapter 1, verse 28. And they brought forth children, forming the first family. Now, only a man and a woman together have the natural biological capacity to conceive children. Please note that this power of procreation, that is to create life and bring God's spirit children into the world, is divinely given. Misuse of this power undermines the institution of the family. Thirdly, Marriage is far more than a contract between individuals and ratify their affections and provide for mutual obligations. Rather, marriage is a vital institution for rearing children and teaching them to become responsible, God-fearing adults. This is why we see that throughout the ages, governments of all types have recognized marriage as essential in preserving social stability and perpetuating life. Regardless of whether marriages were performed as a religious rite or a civil ceremony, in almost every culture, marriage has been protected and endorsed by governments primarily to preserve and foster the institution most central to rearing children and teaching them the moral values that guide civilization. My dear listeners, it is commonly realized that a husband and a wife who are united in a loving, committed marriage generally provide the ideal environment for protecting, nurturing, and raising children. This is in part because of the different qualities and strengths that husbands and wives bring to the task by virtue of their gender. Now, we have looked at marriage as a divine institution. As I said at the beginning, it is necessary for us to let our children know this so that they know what they are going into, and much respect will be given to the institution of marriage. And this will lead us to look at threats to marriage and family. Now, many people go into marriage without knowing what God's vision of marriage is. A wide range social ills has contributed to the weakening of marriage and family. These include divorce, cohabitation, non-marital childbearing, pornography, the erosion of fidelity in marriage, abortion, get-rich-quick syndrome, the strains of unemployment and poverty, same-sex marriage, and many other social phenomena. My dear listeners, yes, my brothers and sisters who are planning or who wish to marry, they should find time to study what God's vision of marriage is and endeavor to work towards it. The family is very important to the society, and that is why God has very keen interest in marriage and in his product, which is the family. So, my dear listener, I am sure the little we have said will enlighten you to know that Marriage is not just any social activity. It is an activity that is divinely instituted. God himself has high regard for marriage. So don't just rush to, don't think of marriage in 2 months and then rush into it. God will help us.
I seen someone go to jail. I seen some be murdered. But you know the thinking as a teenager, not me.